Hi there, church family. I'm here not with Mike Wilson. Sally was just very concerned that it says Mike at the bottom, which is, of course, completely wrong. It's Sally Wilson. So, hello, Sally.
Hello, everyone.
Great to be with Sally. So, we started off last week. Lovely Lizzie just shared a bit under the whole title of My Hero is Jesus. And I'm really just wanting to hear something of people's stories. But as we're all aware, that you're never supposed to be the hero. You're never supposed to have it all together. You're never supposed to be the strong one or whatever. It's always him, which is wonderful because we just let him guide us. So, Sally, tell us a little bit about some of your story, what Jesus has done, how you came to faith, those sort of things.
All right. Well, I was born into a Christian family, very young Christian parents. They'd become Christians through Billy Graham in the 1950s. And upbringing was very uneventful, really. I think my story is kind of, not exciting, but we've all got our own story. So yeah, I was brought up in Baptist church. Everything was very black and white. Everything was very comfortable. We had all sorts of people, influenced my upbringing from the church that we grew up in. And we had something called Christian Endeavour, and we went off to a rally in Woolwich when I was 8 years old. And I thought, actually, okay, yeah, I'm going to say I'm a Christian, so that was kind of a time when I definitely remember saying yes to God. I was baptised at the age of 13, so everything ticked on uneventfully. So when I was 17, somebody from our church invited our family off to Hollybush Farm, which was one of these big conventions that happened every year. They were just starting off back in the time. There was a big move for the Holy Spirit in the 70s, which until we went to Hollybush, I don't think we were really particularly aware of in our little backwater of suburbia. But that was a little bit of an eye-opener. And initially, I really wasn't comfortable.
So go on, describe it a little bit, because you sort of say there was a move of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, it was one of these places where you all camped out and it was all great fun, but you all met in a big marquee and it was really intense, lots of loud worship, which I wasn't used to. But by the end of the week, I was realising the truths and the gems behind what was going on. I was really excited about all the joyful worship because, actually exuberant joy is very contagious, isn't it? So that was really good. But also somebody, who I sat next to the river and had a chat to about being uncomfortable was sort of saying, look, it's like a big plate of food in front of you. Just take what you can digest for now and leave the rest. Don't worry about it. And he had a sort of prophetic word for me, which was something really, really new to me. And so it was kind of like a stepping stone. I wouldn't say it was a big momentous thing, but it was a big eye-opener. So then proceeded off. This was mid-70s, and then by 1976 I was leaving school and starting nursing. And I'd met
that as well, sorry, really jumping in, because that affected your mum and dad quite a lot, didn't it?
Oh yeah, big impact on them. Big impact. They actually at that shortly after that they ended up helping to set up another church in Thamesmead, which is just the other side of Abbey Wood. We were living in Bexley Heath by then, so they moved from Welling Baptist Church. Yeah, and actually big impact on them. But I was leaving home about that stage, so it was a good foundational step for me. Got involved in CU at Guy's Hospital and I always had actually a good group of Christian friends around me. Always been very blessed in that way. So lots of peer encouragement, and we kind of grew up together and into more of the things of God. I'd always decided that I was definitely going to marry a Christian. I wasn't interested in anybody that wasn't. And I'd met Mike when I was still at school, actually, and liked him, but I was keeping the option.
And just sorry, Sally, on that, because that's something, often people like, well, I want to marry someone because I love them or because I fancy them or whatever. what's going on there then?
I don't know whether it's something to do with me. I am ruled by my head rather than my heart, I think. So yeah, I knew Mike through mutual friends. So even though when I first started at Guy's, we weren't in contact for quite a long time, I was kind of in contact with him sort of through these friends. And yeah, so anyway, yeah, so life goes on, and eventually we met after. He couldn't come to my 21st birthday party after I invited him, and so I ended up going to his parents' 25th anniversary, which is all a bit embarrassing because I was the only non-family member there. And I don't think you really want to know all this story, really, but it was.
We've started, so we're finished.
Oh, for goodness sake! Right, okay. Yeah, so he was obviously very keen to keep up or start a relationship, really. So I just said to him, that's fine, we can just be friends as long as there's no strings attached, you just I'm just happy to keep going and seeing you and what have you. And as I say, we had these good mutual friends that we met up. He lived in Surrey and I lived in Kent, and I used to go over and stay with my friends. And yeah, so anyway, long story short, we ended up getting engaged after I'd finished my nurse training and just before I started my midwifery training. So we waited till I'd qualified as a midwife, and we got married in 1981. And yeah, the rest is history, as they say.
So what brought you to Highworth and
Right.
in terms of HCC? And
yeah, well, that was his job basically. We were living and he was working in Cobham. No, he was working in Leatherhead. We were living in Cobham in Surrey, and his job was it was a point where a few of them wanted to set up their own business, really. That was the idea. But in the end, they managed to get some funding from a company called Wimpole, which is so anyway, that was based in Swindon. So the first time we drove into Swindon, I thought, you've got to be joking. I do not want to come and live here. It was horrible. We had 3 young children, so I was kind of based at home. I was going to be uprooting myself from family and friends, and yeah, it was all a bit of traumatic. But anyway, in the process of trying to buy a house, we found out a bit about Highworth Community Church. So the house that we were going to buy in Swindon all fell through at the last minute, and we started to concentrate our search in Highworth. And actually a lovely part of the story is that the house that we're now living in, that we've lived in for the last 35 years, Christians in the street were praying that Christians moved into this house. So we always felt that, yeah, God set this place aside for us. We never really anticipated being here this long. But that's how we ended up here anyway, and brought up all the children here. Had a couple more children with our 3 that we already had, and yeah. So they.
And what would be some of the like a highlight during quite a few years of HCC in terms of what God's done? And
right, okay. Oh, all sorts of things really. It's a long history, but I suppose really for me, I was always the wife at home. Mike was always involved with more of the oversight of the church over the years, and I was quite happy with my little back seat, So it was at a time when Phil was retiring, and he wanted to have a little bit more of an interim leadership team. He asked me to go on, and I thought, not a church leader, but I don't mind helping out temporarily, really. And I said, a few of my kind of like hang-ups, make sure there's a couple of other men on the, at the time seemed to be quite female, the leadership, which was, I'm not anything, I didn't have anything against that. I just thought, we need a bit of a balance. But anyway, so we ended up with 6 of us on an interim leadership team. And that was it's a big challenge for me, because I don't like being up front, and I don't think I've got no training in theology, none of that stuff that I thought in my mind, church leader needed. So anyway, I would say from that time, it has been a huge, huge learning curve in terms of having to really rely on God, really make sure that everything I do is rooted in prayer, really. And that was something I was very not good at before. So yeah, I think actually probably being thrust into leadership, which I'm very uncomfortable about the whole concept, has probably been the biggest thing for me. And I think actually that's true with everybody.
10 years later, you're still here leading.
Well, yeah, but that's because you won't let me go. But in terms of linking up with different folk, it's been hugely impacting on me. I've probably gained more than I've ever given, really. But yeah.
Yes, and it's just been really great, Sally. I think our journey together anyway, and I think for us as a church family, in terms of moving away from a model where a church leader is, like you say, an upfront person or a business person, or that sort of pioneer person, and actually it's about being a mum or a dad. And you are a great mum in the natural, and you're a great mum spiritually, which means, so of course, you've been a great leader. So just quickly, bit of hopes for the future then.
Right, okay. Well, this has been an amazingly strange time, well, for all of us, really. So I think I've always been quite a flexible person. I don't know whether that's my nurse training or whatever. I'm not too easily discouraged or ruffled. So I'm kind of eagerly anticipating really doing church a bit differently, having a bit of more of a focus on what's really, really important, what's really our mission, rather than doing church. I've done church for a long time, and some of it's been absolutely brilliant, and some of it you just sort of think, actually I'm putting a lot of time and effort into a structure or an organisation. And my personal hope is that I've got more time with people, really, and actually just, relationships with people. I think we've all got our own story to tell. I love the diversity. I mean, our church isn't that diverse, really, but I love getting alongside people who are really different to me, think different to me, have had different experiences to me, and exploring what Jesus has done with them, so I'd like to think I've got more time one-to-one, and I've always been very task orientated, and that's something that's really being challenged in me at the moment. So yeah, so I'm hoping that as a community church we will be life changers for the community in which we live in, really.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Sally. Bless you all. You did it. Have a great rest of the day, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
There was another in the fire.